Hello everybody. I wasn't going to do this for a while, but I've on and off over the years I've written about some of the childhood experiences that I had, and every now and again I kind of have a go at sort of writing those down and committing them to paper with a view to maybe writing something. So there's a little bit of a rambling here. This is basically just a kind of taster of what I've got in mind. So I'm smoking my pipe, and I've called this Memoirs of a Country Boy. As I remember those days, I think back with the fondness and benefit of hindsight, remembering the good things and overlooking the hardships which seem now very distant. We moved to the country from the town as my dad decided to take up blacksmithing and give up the lucrative pursuit of being a college lecturer. The year was 1966. I'm giving my age away here. This was the year that England won the World Cup football, and the space race was on, and man was reaching for the moon. The house we moved to was primitive, I think you would call it, very rustic and raw, a canvas for my dad to build his blacksmithing empire upon. There was no staircase in the house. A ladder fixed to the wall was the way upstairs, where there were 3 bedrooms. My 2 sisters shared, and I had the box room. Over the years, my dad and Uncle David, his brother, installed a bathroom and plumbing. When we moved in, there was no running water. We had a hand pump to bring water up from the bowels of the earth. Later, my dad installed an electric pump which pumped up water to a tank in the loft, and this fed the taps by gravity. Bath time was a bit of a palaver, with my mum having to boil pans and kettles to fill the tin bath in the outhouse so we could all dash in, my sisters and me, one after the other. The stables down in the front yard made the perfect workshop space. My dad started with just 1 hammer and a second-hand anvil and a huge amount of perseverance. I used to play in the field with the horses that were there. I fished in the brook for trout, and as a teenager I would go shooting for pheasants, although not always legally. I used to play in the field often. There were donkeys there and horses. My dad taught in a school in Birmingham, which was 25 miles away from the house. This meant that he had to leave the house early in the mornings and come back late into the evenings. This was to make ends meet while Mum looked after us 3 kids. Money was short and times were hard, I suppose you might say, but I don't think I really noticed it at the time. Over the years, my dad built his workshop, acquiring tools and equipment and a power hammer, a Goliath as I remember it. And then came lathes and pillar drills, and the forges and more hammers and other associated tools. I would go with him to the Black Country, a part of the Midlands near Birmingham, scouring the old factories that had closed over the years to look for equipment and tools. As time went on, I watched my dad at work making things, taking a lump of iron and forging it meticulously into exotic ornamental items. At weekends, he visited Uncle Bill. Bill Terry was his name, but everyone called him Uncle Bill, who was a local farmer. I would tag along, and while the grown-ups talked and swore and smoked pipes, I would play in the farmyard, climbing into the grain silos and nearly drowning under the weight of the wheat, or otherwise playing in the animal pens or barns around the yards. Uncle Bill had a great workshop, full of lathes and milling machines and welding equipment, I would walk in to find a scale model of a steam engine or a trailer being built or some piece of agricultural equipment being fixed. It was different every week. Bob, the farmhand, gave me an air rifle to borrow, long term. It was an old underlever Webley 22, and I thought I was in heaven. There was an old 16 gauge shotgun in the workshop that Uncle Bill let me march around the yard with, and to a small boy it weighed a ton. I remember visiting Ben May, Uncle Bill's friend. He fixed chimneys, and I mean proper chimneys, like the ones you got on Tudor houses with the twisted brick construction. He told me that I should always go out with a ball of string and a penknife in my pocket. I've always remembered what he said, and I try to do that now, even after all these years. The seasons came and went. The winters were truly harsh and cold. We had an open fire. I watched my dad tap out his pipe on the side of it. I would reach for the swan matches and sometimes light the pipe for him. He and my mom would sit in the lounge on Sundays, reading the evening paper or having a nap or both. I was busy cultivating a gran next door. All my real grandparents had died when I was in my cot. I adopted the old lady across the road from us, or vice versa. On Sundays I would go round and eat cake with a Pepsi and watch a musical with her and her stepmom. I would listen to their stories about the war and the old music halls. I had friends who were gypsies. I learnt to fish, to shoot an air rifle good enough to bring pheasants home for my mom. I had the whole world to play in and a workshop where I could make swords and knives from scraps of metal. They were great days to be sure, and the hardships have subsided in my memories now. The lessons learned have remained with me, and all these years later, here I am again, sitting in the workshop, looking for new projects and adventures. I'll leave you all in peace. Take care.